I've seen that there was not much about digital preservation. So what brought me to the digital preservation? The reason is that earlier when Dinesh mentioned that I was consultant to Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, during the time I encouraged them to go for very fast digitization of all their things. Under quote unquote under my guidance, and after after around 6-7 years itself, I just realized that whatsoever they have done it perhaps may not be accessible. So it was the biggest guilt feeling which I got out of that, and I informed them that now you are in danger. I met almost the person in charge, but during that time there were some political problems and all those kind of things. So this brought me to digital preservation. I am basically from computer science, a researcher, and system person. So that's the thing which is still now pushing me all the time. And I am basically a researcher, or also a developer, but digital preservation brought me that guilt today. And perhaps there are some people from Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts. They may credit me for pushing them to digitization. I like that. But they will also say that I was slightly a Pied Piper, took them to a cave kind of thing. But anyway, now I'm trying to bring them out of that. So this is just a brief. Since most of the experts here who has already presented are from those areas where you people are very, very ahead. But this thing is going on in India, and I know what is the Indian condition. So few of the transparencies or slides, okay, or transparencies, because I'm lecturing to the time of transparency, so I have not improved more than that, okay. So this is more for our Indian colleagues, and many of things might be a bit slightly boring to you. But just for completeness, and also let me remind that since the next session I am also party to it, so I will try to cut short so that maybe I will take 4:35, so another 10 to 15 minutes. So I'll go fast. Up till now in India, whatsoever data centers are only taking care of the first two. There is no one really, apart from those banks and other things, for whom the requirement, day-to-day operational requirement already forces them to have that. But otherwise, nobody is looking about the technological obsolescence, okay, in India. A few people, all you have expert which you have told you are in this particular field for more than 20 years. And that's why when I say that even I was unaware of the threat of the technological obsolescence till around 2000, when suddenly I realized that company Micromedia and other has closed, and all those things which is used by their application is no more now valid. As Natasha has told, it is not only the data part, but it is the application part, whole ecosystem. But at the same time, I was not that much feeling bad, because in the same Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, Xerox has implemented a larger project, and that also was in the same state, okay, which was perhaps 5 times more. So anyway, so this people are unaware of the threat of, and most of the organization in India, except few. Here important thing it is that this technological obsolescence, I will just skip, obsolescence is perpetual in nature. So it is not that today I solve it, it's again for the next 20 years, again perhaps every 3 years or 5 years, okay, is coming. And the most important thing, now since I am in India mostly, I am more associated with the government organization, okay, there it is the loss of credibility which is the maximum. All the records, as Dinesh has told many of the pilot thing, today also the secretary told, and somebody in the audience also asked whether the land records will be accessible or not. I know most of the places, due to the technological obsolescence, perhaps if they don't hurry it up, they may not be accessed. Okay? And many times, as also one of the project going on the legal side in India, the court cases continues for 20 years, 30 years kind of thing, okay? And court computerization has taken place. The most danger, I feel, is on that side, okay? Because the earlier record, what went on in the session courts, and when it reaches to the Supreme Court, it might be 15-year gap, okay? So these are the real scenario threat in India we are facing. And that's why those 5 examples, which was told as a pilot project, has been taken. So jumping to directly the need for long-term digital preservation, and then we were a bit feeling, but again, the last thing, again, these are more not for you people who are already in this, but for our Indian colleague, that to maintain any repository for a long-term digital preservation requires the last 3 points: additional administrative infrastructure, additional technical infrastructure, and additional financial, okay? And most of the organizations are not either equipped technically or administratively or financially. So these are the things which you people should suggest us in the panel, okay, because you are ahead of it, okay? Again, slightly now on the research side, I will try, I'm looking at what is happening from on the European and American front as a researcher. The reason is there is twofold. I am, from computer science angle, I am very active in cloud research, okay? Cloud computing. And yesterday itself, the first government cloud was released, okay, called Meghraj. It was inaugurated yesterday by our Minister for Science and Technology, or Minister for IT, okay? So in India, if you feel the threat of digital preservation or concept of long-term digital preservation is coming at the same time when the cloud side also is coming. Okay? We have not done anything on the cloud front either, except setting up the thing. So we are looking also from that angle. So here, when I try to, as a researcher, try to see it, the main thing in long-term digital preservation, one is aspect of the bit preservation, that's the same file, okay? But more important thing, as we know that since the technological obsolescence and platform obsolescence, its data or application has to be transformed, which is in your term, in digital preservation term, with a logical preservation, which results into data transformation, means bit mutation, which assures you readability, understandability, and a number of things. So this is the key thing when we are looking at the computer science people, what is the thing which is happening, okay? Here only point to be seen that OIS model told us or suggested that your AIP you should have preservation description information. So whenever we at present do it, okay, any application we write it, we never think about preservation, okay? And that is the preservation description information where I also first time learned the term called provenance. I was just not knowing what is the provenance, okay? And then telling that for authenticity and all those things, these aspects are extremely important, okay? The origin and all sets of transformation which has gone through it must be stored. Otherwise, how one will say about authenticity of the thing or whether legally it will be accepted or not, unless until all these things are kept, okay? And similarly, fixity is the term, as a computer science we used to say, checksum or cyclic redundancy checksum or various kinds of checksum. So this was another term. But this is the way I just looked at it from implementation angle, that is the digital preservation information which is to be added or that metadata has to be all the time there, okay? Apart from a number of other things which are more. So looking at in the West, I just saw that you are either having community-based digital repository, which is mostly funded by similar source. In India also it is like the government side is that. Or other alternate can be that, okay, there is some trusted digital repository which provides a service, okay? Specialized service to customer against the fee. That was the first thing I earlier understood when I read the blue book of your OAIS model, okay, like that, okay. And then also that if it is to be supplied by a quote unquote a private concern, it is very likely that they may also close or they may withdraw from the business. So what happens, as in this morning, Luciana was saying, what happens, okay? Like that. So there is always on the cloud side also the same questions he was raising. But that same question comes to even trusted digital repository who is providing a service, okay? So based on that was coming that there should be, okay, each trusted digital repository must also connected with other trusted digital repository which function as a trusted inheritor perhaps, okay, with the knowledge of the customer, okay, and hence it should be the digital preservation infrastructure is not a single one, but has to be a one taking care of other, okay. And that's the looking from the research angle and also protecting your data or customers' data, that in case of anything, it's not about accidental and all those kind of things. In case of a failure or closure or withdrawal, okay, who is inheriting this? So as a customer, I should be sure, kind of thing, okay. I will not go into this audit and certification because that's all David has discussed. But now it's one thing to say that now, since the audit and certification specification is going to come out as an ISO thing, then now we can say that if we are looking at trusted digital repository in near future in India, then who will audit it? And hence, at least you are giving it. So we know we are now looking for at the simultaneously that there should be an agency, okay, who will do the audit portion. So being backward or being behind, we are finding in some cases lucky that we can do all these things simultaneously. Now, coming directly to this discussion thing, okay, as a researcher, when I'm really looking at it, trusted digital repository roles are two kind. One is the front-end kind of thing, where the role is of archivist, information scientist, because the customer is that who wants to archive their thing. But there is a back-end role, okay, because you have to manage the data center or that repository. And that is more technical or computer science related kind of thing. One has to be all the time aware which direction, what new format is happening, what kinds of technological obsolescence are happening kind of thing. So that, because that's your responsibility then, because you have taken from the customer, unlike that, okay? So the other thing comes naturally from the research angle, can this back-end service can be outsourced economically, okay? Any outsourcing is always, it has to be economical, otherwise there is no point, okay? And the question comes whether the cloud service provider, apart from n number of other issues which Luciana has brought up in the morning. So I'm only looking from the research angle and the future direction kind of thing. And I still feel, okay, because today cloud service providers, there are more than 100, okay? And there is intense competition among them, okay? And each one is searching for his niche. There are only some 6 or 7 larger ones who are having the market, large market. Rest all, because one can enter into very fast. In the niche market, they are trying to, okay? So I will not go into the positive of the cloud service provider, which was already discussed earlier. I will not also go about this, here only the see that charging on the cloud is based on the volume for how much time, and also about the data transfer, how much time data transfer comes from the cloud to your site, okay? So this is the thing, okay? So at present, when the present cloud scenario, if you look at the cost-wise, okay, is not at all economical. And there are many research papers which has come proving that if I put it on Amazon, the same thing which otherwise, that's the locks, is a system, Stanford people and who are maintaining those e-journal kind of thing. There is a very nice 2 papers and all those things on the research, what proved that it is next 5 years, if you presume the same way Amazon is reducing its cost and all those, it is not going to be economical. Okay? So present scenario and other negative things which earlier Luciana has also told. But still, if I look at the large cloud service provider of a different kind, I find that there are cloud service provider who are giving you option for data encryption. Okay? They're providing availability of 99.99% time. Okay? Is usually in a cloud people say 4 nines. That means 99.99%. If 99.9999 another 9 times, this highest level I have seen this 11 nines availability. So, these are the terminology in the cloud side, whosoever are selling their services. Okay, but few things which data portability from one cloud to another, interoperability is still a big problem. There are already committees are there international who's trying to make how to make it kind of thing that each can provide it or not. And out of the cost thing, when they were saying, they found out that the maximum cost comes if somebody wants to do the audit. But for trusted digital repository, they just can't escape from the audit. Okay? So whether if I am taking my customers' things, unless until I say I have been audited, then only I can develop a trust from my customer. So my business depends upon the audit. Okay? So that portion is at present cloud-wise, since they don't give any additional features which facilitate digital preservation. Okay? Hence the problem. So the concept came, I jumped it, that can we think of a storage system which is preservation aware. All those kind of metadata, all those kind of things which either you need for your provenance or you need for your fixity kind of rechecking and audit kind of things. If all these things are given, offered by a specific cloud service provider, okay, then perhaps the cost may come down. Okay? So this is the concept came there is in the research, that preservation aware object store, that they know that I am providing storage thing for which preservation services will be there. Okay? So this is one direction, and one of the research paper, multiple research paper is about preservation data stored related with IBM and Casper. Okay? And in one of David's name is also there. So he might be knowing more than me. So but basically, preservation data store, this PDS, okay, they have, if you give them your data, they encapsulate with large metadata related with all preservation description information and other kind of thing, create their own AIP and put it there. Okay? And then those AIP are put in the physical storage. Okay? So, and the preservation related function like media